Hey everyone, it's Corey and Preston here, back with another NBA playoff boom slate. How have you been feeling about this slate today?
Yeah, this one it's a short two-game slate, so not a whole bunch of options to pick from. But these two games look like they should be pretty fun games with the two games tonight. But yeah, I'm excited about it. Got some lines we like over for DFS in the War Room at DFI, and we're excited for this boom slate.
Yeah, a lot to like. Not too often you hear us, excited about a two-game slate, and I know a bunch of us are playing it, which is kind of surprising. You don't hear that too often, but we're excited, and we'll jump right into it. We'll be covering the $1 jackpots for each game like usual tonight. However, I want to recommend heading over to the $2 progressive jackpot for Boom as well. They've shortened it to six. Different categories, and most of the categories in there we'll be covering. So, easier to win, higher jackpot, and, why not? So, we'll start with the points category in the Houston-Minnesota game where we have Chris Paul, Karl Anthony Towns, Jeff Teague, and Eric Gordon. What are your thoughts on this, Preston?
Yeah, this one's a interesting one for sure. We got Chris Paul. He's been pretty solid over the first three games of this series. As has Jeff Teague. Karl Anthony Towns kind of found his game last night or 2 nights ago. After having a pretty rough first two games of the series, and then Eric Gordon, he's been very cold. He hasn't been shooting well. Minnesota's been doing very well at closing out on threes. His 3-point percentage is very low. So I think we can probably eliminate him right off the bat, and probably Jeff Teague. I'll be looking at Chris Paul and Towns here for sure. I think Karl Anthony Towns definitely has the higher upside, in my opinion. He's probably the guy I'm rolling with here as just an optimal play. Minnesota finally found out that they can actually beat Houston if they involve their two best players, which is just ridiculous to me that they didn't even like. You look at Towns' shot attempts the first two games, just crazy low. They just didn't involve him at all. And last game, they destroyed Houston, and Towns and Butler played very well. So I think it would, if he doesn't play well tonight, that's just ignorant on their coaching staff's part. So I think Towns has another good night tonight. Chris Paul, you're looking at 15 to 20 points, and I think Towns can definitely go over 20 here. So he's probably my pick. If you wanted to, you could multi-enter and kind of split Towns and Paul, but Karl Anthony Towns is my pick here.
Yeah, I absolutely think Towns is the optimal pick. He just has more upside than everyone else. One thing Preston mentioned is, Minnesota's really good defense on Eric Gordon. And Eric Gordon has, it's like 11, he's 11 for his last 39. Obviously, that's really bad. Probably just north of, or just below 30%. But that's not what you want to see from your clutch shooter. He's 5 for his last 19 from the 3-point line. I mean, it's bad. So I mean, while he has the shooting upside, he's been taking, at least 10 to 13 shots a game. It's pretty risky there. I mean, you're just relying on pure 3-point shooting. For Towns, he's absolutely crushed Capella in the past. Minnesota finally figured out how to use him, like Preston said. I really think Towns is our guy, and I don't see any reason to go anywhere else. For rebounds, we have Towns again, Clint Capella, Taj Gibson, and Gerald Green. Gerald Green's the easy pick, right?
Yeah, no. Yeah, you can look at the rebounds per game down there at the bottom, and Gerald Green is just a monster on the glass with just over 3 rebounds per game. Yeah, I I was saying earlier, I don't know why they don't just have the four centers in these two games as the rebound picks, but I think we can just automatically rule out those two guys down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Gibson, he's been playing a decent amount of minutes, but Towns and Capella are playing big minutes. We have Towns looking at like 40 minutes and Capella looking around 30 or so. And I think Gibson and Gerald Green they're just role players. They don't have as big of rebounding upside as Towns and Capella. Like I was saying for the last category, Towns is gonna have to be big this game for them to compete with Houston and to potentially grab game 4 and even the series out. I think Towns and Butler, once again, they'll have to be big pieces to keep it close, and I think Towns has a big game. So this is very similar to the last category for me. I think if I'm choosing one optimal guy, it's going to be Towns here. If you wanted to multi-enter, you could get a share or two of Capella, but I'm going Towns here for my pick.
Yeah, I think that one of the first thing you said is the most important thing, and that's Towns will probably play 40 something minutes, and Capella will play low 30s, and
Yep.
that's really the big difference when you have guys who are averaging about the same rebounding in the playoffs. The more upside is going to be the guy with the more minutes. Another thing I want to touch on that Preston mentioned is their increased usage on Towns. He had 14% usage in game one, loss. 19% in game two, loss, and then he got up to about 22.5 last game, which is a win. So obviously, the more they use him, the better it's going to get. He had 13 field goal attempts last game, which he also had his most in rebounds with 16. More attempts from him is going to be they're going to be closer to the rim, more rebounding chances. Again, agree with Preston here. Towns is going to be your optimal guy if you're feeling pretty contrarian. You can also consider Capella, but I think the minutes here are going to play a big part.
Yep.
For most assists, we'll have Harden, Chris Paul, Jeff Teague, and Jimmy Butler. Kind of an interesting category. What do you like?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. This is probably the closest with all four guys out of the three categories. I think we can probably eliminate Butler here. You can see that the assists per game he just averages less. The other three are basically point guards. Harden's a shooting guard, but when Chris Paul is not on the court, Harden takes care of the ball and he'll get his assists. Harden's probably my pick here. He is just a better player than any of the other guys here, and his usage is massive. And we have him looking at 9 or 10 assists with Paul and Teague, looking at between 7 and 8. So I think if you wanted to, you could look at Paul or Teague to be contrarian, but the optimal play here is definitely James Harden. He's gonna have to play well. He hasn't played well the past game or two, and it's shown by the score. I think he's gonna have to play well. I saw Harden was talking in an interview earlier today or last night, and he was just saying they haven't played a full 48 minutes. They haven't been playing super well since the end of the season. So I think they're gonna have to realize that they got this Minnesota team's not a typical just 8 seed where they're kind of a joke. They're gonna have to play well, and I think Harden's gonna have to be a big part for them to get an easy win here.
Yeah, I think we see a rejuvenated Houston team tonight after that loss in Minnesota. They know they're the better team. I don't expect that kind of effort to come out again. One thing, we talked about minutes with Towns and Capella, and I think here we'll just talk about usage. And Harden's been 37%, 34%, 38%. You're looking at Chris Paul, who hovers around the mid-20s, and Jeff Teague, who pretty much does the exact same thing. He also is dealing with 3 other terrific scorers on his own team. I think we got to go with the usage here. We expect a big game from Harden tonight. I think he carries Houston to a win heading home, and I think it's also your optimal pick there. And for the last category, we have points for Jimmy Butler. What kind of range do you like tonight?
Yeah, this one's going to be interesting. Like we've been talking the whole time, Butler and Towns are going to have to be big parts to get a win. If you look at their game logs, Butler had I think 11 and 13 points the first 2 games, and then he exploded for 28 in game 3. So this one's he's not going to have a super tight range of outcomes. I think here you're looking at if you're trying to predict an average game, you're looking at maybe 21 points as your baseline. So maybe 18 to 22 or 19 to 23. But yeah, I mean, like you were saying, if you think Houston plays a lot better and plays a lot better defensively, you could maybe dock that at 2 or 3 points. And if you think Minnesota wins, you could bump it a few. But I think for me, just trying to go based on averages, I'd probably center that around 20 to 21 points.
I think it's a good call. The one I'm sure this is also has to do with how poorly Houston played last game, but
Yep.
Butler took 19 field goal attempts last game, which is more than the first 2 combined. He only had 11 and 13 the first game. I think while Minnesota shot extremely efficiently last game, I do think Butler does at least get to that 20 mark, and I kind of like the low 20s, like you said, 20 to 23-ish probably. I don't expect him to get to 28 because I don't expect them to win. But, yeah, he shot over 50% from the field last game. 67% from three-point arc. I just don't see it again. So let's jump into the Utah-Oklahoma City game, which we absolutely love tonight. Where we have most points between Paul George, Donovan Mitchell, Russell Westbrook, and Ricky Rubio. Man, is this category tough.
Yeah. This one's gonna be really tough. These guys are probably the four. They'll probably end up being the four highest scoring players in this game. So yeah, it will definitely be tough to pick one of these guys. I think I haven't looked too in depth on the other two categories yet, but this one is definitely one you're looking at multi-entering. I think we have each of these guys looking at over 20 points. You can maybe rule out Rubio on the points category here. We love him for DFS and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
He's a must-have at DFI, but that's not necessarily scoring dependent. These other three guys are just incredible scorers. I think this one's really tough. Like I couldn't confidently pick a top scorer here. I really like the Jazz in this game, so Donovan Mitchell may be a good candidate here. I think Paul George and Westbrook may be a little more used just because of the name value, but this one's tough. I may be looking at maybe 2 shares of Mitchell, 2 shares of Westbrook, and 1 of Paul George. I think obviously all of these guys have huge upside, but I think Mitchell and Westbrook are probably the 2 top options here. I really honestly don't know who I'd pick for an optimal play because I just don't think there is one. So I think I'd definitely look to multi-enter here.
Yeah, this is one of those where we're going to have to tell you to multi-enter. Absolutely agree with Preston. I don't feel comfortable recommending one either. I mean, you could look at shot attempts, and I mean, Mitchell's been in the 20s every single game, which shouldn't surprise you. I mean, that's kind of what he does. But at the same time, you got Westbrook, who does about the same thing. You got Paul George, playoff P if you want, who's going to be looking for a shot. And Rubio all of a sudden thinks he can shoot, which is great for us at DFI because it gives him a lot more upside. But the man's shot is one of the weirder things I've seen. And I mean, you got to look at the guy. I mean, Rubio, like Ricky Rubio, the guy who did not shoot last season, has 18, 16, and 18 attempts this series. So all these guys are taking at least 18 a game. Can't confidently pick one. If I had to take one, I'd go with Preston and take Donovan Mitchell. I mean, the guy just loves chucking up his shot regardless.
Yep.
But really tough there. For rebounds, we'll have Gobert, Westbrook, Favors, and Mitchell. I assume we're choosing between Gobert and Westbrook here, right?
Yeah. They both are looking at double-digit rebounds. Westbrook, as we know, is just a triple-double monster. And Gobert is a double-double monster. They're both looking at 11 or 12 rebounds as an average here. And yeah, Mitchell, he's like we said in the last category, he's a scorer. He'll get 5 or so rebounds, but I don't see any way really that he gets double-digit rebounds. And Favors, I love Favors, but with Gobert sitting right there in the paint, I don't see how you can confidently choose Favors over Gobert in the same category. So yeah, definitely between Westbrook and Gobert here. I think I may be looking at Gobert probably as an optimal play here. Westbrook, I think he'll for the Thunder to win, I think he'll have to play efficiently, and I think he'll have to score the ball well while spreading the ball around. So I don't think he'll focus as much on rebounds. I think he's looking at more points and assists, getting his teammates involved, getting himself the ball and scoring there. So I think, yeah, for one optimal play, I'm taking Gobert. I think you could definitely just kind of spread shares between the two of them, but I'd definitely lean Gobert for one play.
Yeah. I'm going to agree with you again here. I like that we're on the same page for this 2-game slate. Gobert, it's really tough between him and Westbrook. But, I mean, the man's had 15 and 12 in his past 2. Steven Adams has been in foul trouble pretty much every game, which is giving Gobert even more upside for rebounds. And, I want to say Steven Adams won't get back into foul trouble, but I can't confidently say that. And regardless if he is in foul trouble or not, you got to love the Jazz at home. Gobert got a massive 41 minutes last game. I mean, that's the most he's played pretty much all season. Yeah. I like that. I think the Jazz played extremely well. I think Quinn Snyder sees that, and Gobert sees a lot of minutes. And you absolutely have to multi-enter in this category, but Gobert's going to be the favorite. For most assists, we have Jinglin Joe, Donovan Mitchell, Paul George, and Raymond Felton. Um, these guys are kind of low assist guys. The only time
Yeah.
Ingles really explodes is when Rubio doesn't play. Do you still like him tonight, or do you like someone else?
Yeah, this one's tough because, like you said, none of these guys are really high assist guys. Felton plays, I'd assume, maybe 15 to 20 minutes a game, being a backup guy behind Westbrook. And then Mitchell is it more of a scorer. Paul George is more of a scorer, rebounder type guy. And yeah, Ingles he hasn't been playing well. I know he played well last game, got 4 or 5 assists. But yeah, this one's tough. This whole game is really tough for these categories. Yeah, it's always tough choosing between low stat guys for whatever category because the variance is much lower and it's kind of just which one gets 4 as opposed to 3 or whatever you want to say there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one's definitely tough. I may lean Ingles because he handles the ball a little more, and when he does, he passes the ball a little more when he handles the ball. But yeah, I would almost say I would almost want to multi-enter here, but with the points being super super close and the rebounds being close between Gobert and Westbrook, this one's definitely interesting. I think I'd probably take Ingles here, but I don't really think you can go wrong with Mitchell or George either. This one's a tough category as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go Ingles here with you as well. Mostly because, I mean, the guy's been on the floor a ton. He's a big key to their success.
Yeah.
And one thing I've been noticing is, like, when he's very good he'll be wide open for three, he'll draw the defender and pass it right off. I mean, those are easy assists that he can just dish off right there. I kind of like his minutes in the mid-30s, and he's not chucking up Donovan Mitchell-type shots. So I kind of like the upside there. Even when Exum's in the game, Ingles still plays a good amount of point guard. I just think he's our optimal play there. And when guys average that low of assisting, you can't really just pick one confidently. And the final thing we'll talk about tonight is Russell Westbrook for points. Like Preston said, he's going to put the team on his back tonight. They really have to win this game if they want a chance in this series. What kind of projection are you thinking tonight?
Yeah, this one's an interesting one. It's always a little bit difficult to choose point totals for these guys with just monster usage and minutes projections. I'm probably looking at maybe 25 points or so, 24, 25 as an average. He's not a guy that just explodes with points. Very frequently he can put up 40, but he's more of a just all around contributor. So yeah, I'm looking at 24, 25 points. I think he'll definitely. I think the key for the Thunder tonight is for him to play efficiently as opposed to just having monster numbers. So yeah, I think I could see him getting a triple double tonight and focusing more on passing the ball, getting his teammates involved, and scoring around 24, 25 points. So getting that maybe 23 to 27 range or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think we have to give him the ceiling he's had all season just because he's got to deal with Gobert in the paint.
Yep.
Jazz are number one in defensive efficiency with Gobert. They rank about, I think, 14th without him. So just something to think about there. I mean, a lot of his scoring is in the paint, put back rebounds, whatever. He can't really get those with Gobert. So it's really you can't put him over 30, I think. But I mean, I think the low 20s is pretty optimal. 23 to 25, 22 to 26. I just think we got to be careful not to overshoot it. And a lot of people might do that because they see the Westbrook interview. They're like, oh, this man's going to go wild. But it's not that easy going against Gobert in there. So don't overdo that. But definitely I'd put him in the low 20s somewhere. Maybe 26 at the highest. But that'll do it for the Boom slate. Preston and I are going to head to the DFIU War Room to take care of this 2-game slate for other DFS purposes. But good luck, guys. And we'll be back tomorrow to break down another playoff slate with you guys.